Earlier today, No More Heroes 3 was revealed to the world. Obviously, everybody who is a fan of the series is very excited. What can you tell us about the story for 3 and where does it take place within the trilogy?
First, I hope everyone checks out the No More Heroes 3 trailer. And as you can see in the trailer, Travis is sitting there playing a video game. He's actually playing Ape Out, which is a game that I love personally. And he's sitting there playing a video game, kind of falls asleep, and all of a sudden he's kind of woken up like, whoa, the ground starts shaking, and he goes outside to see there's some really funky stuff going on. And he kind of gets into battle mode, and he takes some of the skills that he acquired during Travis Strikes Again. For example, the abilities he's gained from the Death Drive, and he gets dressed up in his full-on armored suit, jumps up in the air, and starts taking a bunch of dudes down. And as you can see from the trailer, Travis is going up against some really hairy dudes, and it's basically, put really simply, it's going to be a story of Travis kicking lots of ass all over the place.
I think that's what fans were hoping for to begin with. Speaking of kicking ass, how does the combat work in No More Heroes 3? Obviously, Travis Strikes Back was a bit of a departure from the main series as far as combat is concerned. So, will this be similar to the first 2 No More Heroes games in the series, or will it take cues from Travis Strikes Back?
Well, this latest game, No More Heroes 3, is, as you can see, it's got a 3 on it, so it's part of what I like to call the numbered series. Travis Strikes Again, while it is part of the official, storyline or timeline, it was also sort of its own thing, really. The way Travis fought, the way the game was played, was sort of a really unique and individual thing. And again, this being number 3, personally, I wanted to keep it a lot more in line with 1 and 2, and I feel like that's what the fans have wanted too. So the number one thing I wanted to do was keep it as close to the official numbered series as possible, but at the same time, again, adding stuff in from TSA as well. But put simply, it's going to be a lot closer to 1 and 2 as far as gameplay and battle goes.
Was this being developed in tandem with the last game, and how did Travis Strikes Back, how did it affect development of No More Heroes 3?
Well, the core team for both Travis Strikes Again and No More Heroes 3 is pretty much exactly the same. So while they weren't done in tandem, pretty much almost as soon as TSA was finished, we started working on the prototype for No More Heroes 3. And once TSA was released and we saw how much the fans had supported us and how much the fans had been clamoring for more, it was thanks to the support of all the fans and all the requests that we're able to really kind of kick it into high gear and actually start making No More Heroes 3.
Travis touched on obviously a fan favorite for the series, but No More Heroes, you've made more of these games than any of your other IPs. What appeals to you personally about the character and the series, and what do you think it is that appeals to the fans about the series as well?
Yeah, so No More Heroes 3, obviously it's the 3rd installment in the numbered series, but if you include TSA, it's the 4th No More Heroes game altogether. And making 4 games in the same series, that's the first time I've ever done something like this for any IP. And thinking about it, why have I made so many games in No More Heroes? Why have I made so many Travis games, and why do people want the Travis games so much? I kind of feel like, as I'm writing the character, I always feel like, okay, what's this guy going to do next? What's he been up to recently? What would he say if he was here right now? I kind of feel like he's maybe kind of like right next to me, or just kind of like just down the street, like he's a real dude who's really kind of there, And because of that, it makes the games a lot easier to write. It makes the stories a lot easier to come up with. And I feel that maybe the reason the fans seem to kind of cling to Travis like I do is because maybe they feel kind of the same way. Like he's clearly like a gamer. The fans obviously are gamers. He's kind of a real, like, down-to-earth guy. I think maybe a lot of, in some ways. So I think a lot of fans can kind of relate to that. And again, I feel like maybe people feel the same way I do, that he's kind of like this dude that's kind of like down the street or kind of next door, that's kind of like a buddy of theirs, that every once in a while they kind of want to check in on him and see what he's doing, see what he's been up to recently, just kind of see how he's going. And hopefully that's how fans feel about it, and that's how I feel about the character myself.
Motion controls have always had a place in the No More Heroes series. What kind of motion controls are you adding to No More Heroes 3, if any? And can we expect any new features along those lines?
Yeah, as you said, the motion control has always been a big part of the series. And while you totally can play with the Joy-Cons attached to the console itself, I feel that the best way to play the game is, taking both the Joy-Cons off, holding them in your hand, and playing just like you would with the Wii controllers. For now, that's pretty much all I can say. But yeah, it's definitely the kind of game that you're going to want to play with both hands detached.
I know that the series, it also ties into Killer 7. Do you plan on introducing any other characters from your Sudaverse into the No More Heroes universe in this game? Or can we expect any cameos?
For TSA, we did indeed have a lot of cameos and stuff from other characters from Grasshopper games in the past. That was done for a couple reasons, mainly partly because I wanted to sort of revisit these characters, partly as a sort of thank you to the fans for all their support over the years for these other games also. And the main reason was because TSA was sort of a commemorative title for Grasshopper's 20th anniversary. And the thing is, with No More Heroes 3, I really wanted to go back and focus on just the pure No More Heroes world. So, to be honest, at this point, I'm not really considering having, at least not the sort of cameos that were in TSA. Not the sort of, characters coming out all over the place, popping up here and there. That's not to say there won't be any at all, but this is definitely a much more pure No More Heroes world-focused game.
Now, I know indie games like Hotline Miami had a big influence on TSA. You mentioned that Ape Out is in the trailer. Will these indie games once again play a role in No More Heroes 3? Or is it just sort of a nod and a wink to them, having them in the background, or is T-shirts and things like that?
TSA, I feel, is sort of the sort of title that kind of helped. I felt kind of helped to bridge the gap between standard titles and indie titles, and also it was sort of my love letter to indie games in general, which is why we had all the different the T-shirt collaborations and the different games that clearly influenced it and everything. For No More Heroes 3. One thing that I'd really like to do, if possible, is have the players be able to carry over the T-shirts from TSA into No More Heroes 3. But as far as collaborations with indie games and other games in general go, it's definitely not going to be anything like TSA was. And if we were to do something, it would probably be more sort of a single game focused type thing, as opposed to a whole bunch of different stuff all mixed up. But right now, there's nothing concrete in the works.
In a lot of ways, you are very much an indie developer. What is it that appeals to you personally about games like Ape Out and other indie titles?
It's a good question. I feel the simplest way to put it would be that the fun of indie games is sort of an instinctual thing. You pick up the controller, start playing the game, and you just kind of feel like you're having fun. Just something is just interesting and fun and new, And back when I was a kid, I'd be hanging out at arcades playing arcade games, and they had this sort of primitive fun to them, where it's just things were a lot more simple, a lot more primitive back in the day. But the way you enjoyed the games was also sort of more primitive and instinctual. Also, you just kind of automatically start having fun, start enjoying the game. And I feel that indie games these days still kind of they tend to carry that kind of primitive, instinctual fun with them that a lot of bigger games don't these days. Ape Out, for example, it's super hard. I still haven't cleared it yet, and it's really frustrating. But that's one of the things I love about the game is it's got that challenge that you don't get tired of it. You just keep having fun and just keep coming back to it. I think a lot of indie games have that same kind of vibe to them, which I really dig about it.
I also know that music has always been a big influence in your life. What have you been listening to while developing No More Heroes 3?
Recently, Chemical Brothers put out some new stuff, so I've been listening to that a lot. Also, there's a Japanese band I'm really into called Shacknews, who have got a new album coming out really soon. They've only got one new song out on iTunes so far, but I've been listening to that a lot recently. And just in general, whenever I'm working, I just tend to listen to whatever I feel like. I listen to the music I love the most. But recently, it's definitely been mainly the Chemical Brothers and Shacknews and another Japanese band called Dang as well. I've been listening to a lot of that while I've been working on the game.
When is No More Heroes 3 launching? And I know it's on Switch only, but on what consoles?
2020. Yeah. Nintendo Switch.